Europe is facing its greatest migration crisis since World War II. According to the European Commission, more than 500,000 people have reportedly fled Europe this year. Germany's Angela Merkel has warned that the migrant crisis could be a bigger challenge for the EU than the Greek economy. Now, most migrants are seeking refuge from war and violence or are just in search of a better life, but often with tragic consequences. Dozens of people reportedly suffocated on an overcrowded ship Saturday as they headed to Italy. More than 300 survivors were rescued. Migrants often pay huge fees to people traffickers to make these often deadly journeys. Italian officials are trying to crack down on the illegal activity.
This is the umpteenth tragedy that has taken place at sea. 49 people died, but many people have been rescued by an Italian ship and a Norwegian vessel. We need to listen to the survivors to understand exactly what happened to those poor people, and then we will proceed, as need be, regarding those people who are responsible if they can be identified.
Now, while Europe is the destination of so many migrants, there is an increase in European migrants heading to South America. A new study shows that for the first time in more than a decade, more Europeans emigrated to Latin America and the Caribbean than the other way around. Dan Collyns reports from the Peruvian capital, Lima.
There's nothing quite like the taste of home. And there's no dish more Spanish than paella. For many Spanish migrants in Peru, the restaurant La Gorda, named after its chef, has become a home away from home.
La Gorda was one of the first restaurateurs to give the Spanish a taste of Peruvian cuisine. Now she's doing the reverse, bringing the taste of home to Spanish migrants living in Peru.
Carmen Delgado's plump figure is the reason she calls herself and her eatery La Gorda, or the Fat Girl. She returned home to Peru after a quarter of a century in Madrid. She brought with her Spanish cuisine and a Spanish husband, Felix.
Peruvians in Spain would say to me, "You cook just like my mom," and that made me very happy. So when I tried to convince Felix to come back with me to Peru, I promised that I would try to do the reverse. I would try to feel that nostalgia the Spaniard feels when he's far away from home.
After Colombians, the Spanish are the main immigrants to Peru. The reason? Jobs. Over the past decade, Peru's migration office says 8 times the number of immigrants have come to the country seeking work. The International Organization for Migration says a reversal of economic fortunes between Europe and Latin America helps explain that trend. For the last 4 years, the organization says more people migrated from Europe to Latin America than the reverse. In 2012, more than 180,000 European nationals left for Latin American and Caribbean countries, as compared to nearly 120,000 Latin American and Caribbean nationals who moved to the European Union. Countries such as Venezuela and Argentina used to receive the most Europeans, but not anymore.
From 2000 onwards, that trend was broken, and countries like Peru started to bring more migration from Europe, partly due to its economic situation. It's the country which has the most notable growth in the last 10 years.
As Peru, along with Bolivia and Ecuador, continues to grow, it needs more professionals to fill labour gaps. And with the Spanish, there's no language barrier.
Spanish in Peru aren't only filling top jobs in expanding sectors like construction and publicity, some are also in the business of helping the millions of Peruvians who've recently joined the middle classes to unwind.
It's boom time here for yoga and other feel-good activities. Business is good, says Spanish yogi Jose Ogesto.
All the Spaniards I know, or I've heard about, are expatriates who mostly work in the private sector. In the world of construction, they're independent business people or entrepreneurs, as well as sectors like mining, infrastructure, and engineering. But I don't know any who are yoga teachers.
With unemployment at more than 20% back home in Spain, whatever they do for a living, the tens of thousands of Spanish immigrants in Peru will be glad to have a job. Dan Collyns, CCTV, Lima.